Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when this finds you. Are you hungry? Do you like food? I like food. Take a gander at some of this food. Tell me what you think. Maybe sweets are your thing. You like croissants? Maybe some gelato or ice cream? Maybe a healthier wrap? Maybe ice cream again. Maybe something grilled, kebab style, huh? Maybe some rice, maybe some kimchi from Korea. Maybe some delicious Italian. Or some perfectly cooked bird, Peking duck in China. Or maybe some amazing ramen. Or some delicious Chinese dumplings. Maybe pad thai. You may be asking yourself, why would I tease you with delicious looking food? Well, we're starting a new chapter, and we have to ask ourselves, in ecology, who to kill? Who do we kill? Because we got to get food, we got to get energy. And whether we're talking about nature and animals and plants in ecosystems, or if you're talking about us each day, something has to die to give us energy. So we're going to spend a little bit of time thinking about animals getting energy, who they're killing, what plants are getting from their environment to get energy, and really just seeing how the body uses energy in an ecosystem where lots of living things interact and depend on one another. All right, so our new chapter is on whichever date you find yourself adding this. Our new chapter, of course, is titled Ecology, Who to Kill, and you need to have that in your table of contents, and the page number depends on where you're at in your notebook. So I can't tell you what page number to put this new chapter. Just know that the chapter's title is Ecology, Who to Kill, ? And we also need to dedicate the first 2 sheets of paper to making a pocket. And you remember we make pockets like this, but we need to make one for this chapter because we'll probably put some notes in that pocket or maybe some worksheets, okay? All right, let's move forward. So and this is slide 2, okay? So in your notebook, make sure you write slide 2. We have 3 scientific problems we are going to focus on for this new chapter. And hopefully we find value in them. And of course, it's our focus and purpose through the entire chapter is to learn more about these problems. So for now, all you got to do is write slide 2 in your notebook, copy down these 3 scientific problems, and make sure you decorate the outside border. So go ahead and pause the video now and give a good decoration for the outside of these scientific problems using highlighters or markers or whatever you can find. All right, for us, we're going to do and study each of these 3. Number 1 is, how will species extinction impact a community of organisms? So what happens if an individual goes extinct? All right, so what happens if something goes extinct? Well, we're going to have to examine and look at things in nature and how they live, how they survive. Right here you can see we have a really beautiful graphic from this wonderful video called Crash Course Kids. And you can see a community of organisms, marine life or ocean life. And we will study what exactly it is, as far as energy goes, when an organism eats another organism. Or how are things like plants in an ecosystem gathering energy? And what does it mean, of course, when they're depending on one another, especially if one ends up going extinct? So throughout the chapter, we're going to learn more about that and these really complex interactions where organisms depend on each other, they consume each other, predator, prey, and of course, the important, what happens if something like climate change were to cause some extinctions in an ecosystem or a community of life? The next big problem we're going to explore a lot about is how wildlife, living things in nature, and humans, how are our bodies using this energy once we get it? Or how do we lose energy? Why do we always have to eat? Why does a mountain lion in the forest always have to eat? So what is going on when we lose energy, and what are we doing when we get it? So when we're eating something. Here's a cool clip from a video titled The Science is In and Exercise and Losing Weight. Let's play it a little. Now, there's different ways our body uses energy. So once we get it, right? And you can see it's pretty interesting. Our lives and how we lose weight and how we get energy from food. We're burning energy all the time when we're just hanging out, watching this video. It takes energy to even consume food. And of course, physical activity, that's about 30% of the energy we lose. And according to this cool video, it says we actually lose a lot of energy even when we're not even moving around. So if an animal in nature is just sleeping or if we're hanging out, we lose energy. Now we know we put calories into our body, and we know we lose it, and because we have to eat over time. So check this graph out. We often wonder how we can have the body weight we want. And, if somebody started at 200 pounds, could they bring their weight down through lifestyle? So we're going to look at how we exercise. We're going to look at what we eat and start thinking about food as energy and how that energy is stored on our body and how we can actually lose some of that body weight or energy through exercise and lifestyle. So we'll spend a lot of time trying to keep this chapter interesting for you, but also studying nature and how things live in food webs. For humans, you may be wondering, am I even exercising enough to be healthy? Do I even feel like I have enough energy in life to do that? And you can see that there are guidelines, according to health.gov, a government website, where they say you should at least get 60 minutes per hour of physical activity, and it should be aerobic or muscle strengthening or bone strengthening exercise activities every day. So according to them, according to the government and medical professionals, we should be using a lot of energy every day to be healthy. So if you're recommended to get all that exercise each day and use a lot of energy, are you eating enough to do that? So you could check out this cool table too. And it says the estimated calorie needs for you each day by your age and gender and physical activity level. So you can see that on the left it says sedentary, which means you pretty much have no life. Schoolwork, you're sitting at home or playing video games. Moderately active means you spend a little time exercising but not a lot. And then of course active means each day you're playing sports or skating or in band, marching band, whatever you are, just moving around a lot each day, right? Very active. So if you find your age group, 14 through 18 should be us, or 13 through 18. And think about it. According to this, are you getting enough calories? We're going to spend a lot of time in this chapter looking at how energy is used, how much energy we need, why we're always losing energy, and then, of course, how all wildlife depends on calories and each other, especially when extinctions happen, okay? Our third and final problem will be, can being a vegetarian reduce global starvation? So I'm not going to tell you to eat plants. You probably have already heard that plants are good for you, but we're going to study the area of ecology that looks at energy use among human beings, and could we actually solve global starvation if we stopped using larger animals for food and only vegetables? Very interesting. So we're going to spend some time on that too, and you'll decide later as we learn a little more. So these are going to be the basis for this chapter. Hopefully you're a little interested in some of the topics we've discussed, and of course we'll spend a lot of time in class learning more. And as we go down these later slides, hopefully we can talk more about what you find interesting, okay? So here's slide 3. Slide 3 doesn't ask you to do anything. It's just to remember that in a food chain, you have things eating each other. It always starts with the sun and ends up with something bigger, an animal. In the middle is a plant, so the sun feeds the plant, and the pigs in this example got some grains and they ate it, right? But it's not just that. So since we're in high school, we need to be aware that the variables abiotic and biotic are key to food chains as well. So we have water and soil involved to help the plant use sun energy. And we know, of course, that pigs, as they are consuming the grass, they're also consuming and need water and air so that the energy use gets transferred from the plant and that the pig stays alive. And of course, you can see a lot of abiotic examples in these beautiful photos and a lot of biotic examples in these photos. All right, slide 4. So in your notebook, you should write slide 4. And you should, of course, now think about these 3 tasks in your notebook. So in your notebook, you write slide 4, and then you number 1, 2, 3. And you spend a lot of time examining this photo. So you're going to look at this picture, interpret what you see, or try to make sense of what you see. You have some people here. You have sunlight coming through. You have lots of different plants. You have pavement. And it says list 3 abiotic variables in the image. So let us look at this image on slide 4. Hopefully you've written that down, that it's slide 4. And now we want to answer these 3 questions. Question number 1 says, list 3 abiotic variables in the image. Here's one. So in your notebook you could write air, which is gas, right? Blank, and blank, right? So make sure you finish all 3, or try to think of 3. If you have trouble thinking of 3, we'll talk about it in class and settle it out. And then biotic variables, well, I'm going to put ferns. It's these little plants right here. And then, and blank. So make sure you think of 3 living things. Identify 3 biotic variables in the image. And finally, it says predict how energy is transferred in this picture. So you got to identify something that's using energy in this image, okay? So find some biotic thing, or think of an abiotic presence like the sun if you want. But you got to think, how can energy be being used or transferred in this image? So think about the sunlight, or think about the people here in the photo. And it says, I would copy this down if you want to use it to answer. It says prediction equals, so all in yellow you would copy for your answer if you like. It says prediction equals blank is transferred. Now remember, the question is asking how energy is transferred, so the blank should be pretty straightforward. Or used, so how blank is transferred or used in the image when blank occurs. So you're going to say when and identify what the living thing you're going to choose in this picture is and what's happening. All right, in your notebook, please write slide 5. Again, in your notebook, please write slide 5. Let's look at the title now. It says, scientists also look at organisms as boxes of energy. So as we already discussed, a lot of energy is used in nature, and it's going to be a main focus in our chapter and our studies. And it really is calories. So really, when you think of energy, for us especially, it's really calories. It says, create a brainstorm web. So you see this right here. It says 1, 2, 3, 4. So you need to have a brainstorm web where the central bubble is energy. And you need to have 4 outer bubbles, or bubbles. And take half a page to do it. And it says in your notebook, so on your own, in your notebook, think of 2 things that comes to mind when you think energy. So what 2 things might you write in a bubble when you think of the word energy? So if someone were to say energy to you, what do you think about? 2 first ideas that come to your mind, you just place them in the bubble here, because it's going to be the things that you think of or what you think energy is. Later in class, we'll fill in these other 2 bubbles, probably with the help of your partners and classmates, okay? All right, good. Let's move on. Slide 6. Slide 6 is a new task. It's going to ask us to do something we've never done before. It says create a model to show something. So when we create models, let's look at what this does. So it says, when making a model, and we call it art sometimes, right? It says it should show any kind of questions you have. It should show what you understand of something. And always think of it as a first draft. It says a model can represent a hypothesis or something you're claiming. And it says a model should show a process or action. So when you create some kind of art in science class, we'll call it a model, and it should show maybe a before and after, cause and effect. And models don't use as many words, but you're going to have some. So when you draw something to represent what you understand or a hypothesis, remember, even though it's your first draft, you should still be thinking about adding maybe a few words and some symbols too to represent what you think and to make sure you're communicating clearly. So communicating not in writing, but more drawing or art. All right, this is slide 6. And in slide 6, we're basically going to draw something to show what we understand. I'm going to stop this video now, and we'll wait for our next video, and I'll show you exactly how to do this.